What about Helle Hulgaard's assertion that she'd be better off on welfare? So she quit, and she made that resignation letter public.
Now I find the irony is I would have been better off on family benefits all along.
Then, in her eagerness to sting the government, she did something she would profoundly regret. She sat down with Ontario Tory leader Michael Harris and, in front of reporters, she reread the part of her letter saying she'd be better off on welfare. Instantly, her resignation was transformed from a tax protest into the cynical act of a lazy right-winger, and she began to take some heat.
She's got quite a lot of nerve, actually, considering there are those of us, myself, who are still unemployed and looking for work, and hey, I'll gladly go in for her whatever time.
And I really have a hard time understanding why she's grasping at all these straws, trying to defend a decision that's morally repugnant.
And I have grave difficulty with someone who would even contemplate giving up a job with a salary.
Even Bob Ray waded in, and on national TV.
Well, I can't conceive of the country being built on that kind of an attitude.
I don't really care what he says about me. Maybe the system is wrong.
Of effort.
I would like to see Kim Campbell and Bob Ray eat hot dogs and craft dinner at their next Premier's meeting. You know, the rest of us do, why not them? I don't think my hard work has been rewarded in any difference in my lifestyle. On a daily basis in my job, the lifestyle that I saw out there with people who were living in metro housing, on family benefits and welfare, was no different than my lifestyle, not at all. Hand to mouth, we live exactly the same lifestyle. I cannot begin to express how bitter and angry I am with the social...
Her resignation letter had an eerie sound to it, the sound of a work ethic evaporating. And this from a woman whose lifelong devotion to hard work was almost religious.
I think now of how I rushed my children through their childhood while I scrambled to get ahead. I started out in 1983 at a $14,000 job in an entry-level position. I took on extra duties and did whatever it took to climb slowly up the ladder financially. When I got the job at $37,000, I was elated. I thought, this is it. My kids and I are going to be able to live at some other level than hand to mouth. And I rented a small house. It was $850 a month, plus utilities and water and sewage. When I got my first check from Metro Housing, I was outraged when I saw that the amount was really only, I can't remember exactly anymore, but it was such a small amount that I received extra in take-home pay from the $28,000 to the $37,000 because of the taxes. I get a very small kitchen in here.
That's how they wound up in the attic apartment. Moving here was an uncomfortable economy, but it saved $200 a month.
This is my room. This is the dining room. This is the living room. And this cot is my bedroom. This is where I sleep.
Eventually, her salary crept up to $41,000, but it didn't feel like it. She still felt poor.
For instance, this summer when I took my children to 2 movies on Tuesday nights because it was half price, and I took them horseback riding once at $18 for each child. It meant that doing that, I would have to borrow money the following week for food because I cannot afford to do anything that's a luxury with my children. I can barely make the necessities, and I had assumed that maybe at this wage level that I would be able to do the odd treat type of thing with my children, but I can't without it costing on the other end.
Then came Ontario's new surtax and the cutbacks of the so-called social contract. And suddenly, the $200 a month she'd made all those economies to achieve was gone, swallowed by a government that had promised to tax the rich.
I cried because I knew what the effect would be on my family. And then my first reaction was that, well, I will have to take a part-time job. I mean, that was my immediate response to this, is I would look for a part-time job. But then I started questioning that because, first of all, when would I ever see my children? Why did I even have them if I'm going to be working all day and all night just to,
Meanwhile, in Toronto, Helle Hulgaard cleaned out her desk the other day. It was a lot harder than she thought it would be.
Well, I really, really enjoyed my job. I really liked it. It's everything that I had ever worked for. And so it was really hard to take a stand and give that up. It was just hard.
She hasn't applied for welfare, not yet. It's a line she can't bring herself to cross. She's toying with starting a house cleaning business or finding a lower paying job. Anything to get around or over that disincentive line. For Primetime News, I'm Neil MacDonald in Toronto.